From Jacqueline Kennedy's understated elegance to Michelle Obama's passion for Christmas trees, each First Lady leaves her mark on the White House at holiday time. This hour on It's Your Call, we take you inside 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue as we share intimate details of Christmas at the White House. It's that time of the year again when the Christmas trees are being lit, the decorations are going up, and families are sharing their traditions of the season. And it's not just in your home and mine, it's also happening at the First Family's home, the White House. Today we're going to give you a glimpse of what it's like inside the White House at Christmas time. Hello everyone and happy holidays. I'm Lynn Doyle and it is so good to have you with us once again. For those who have watched this show for years, you know that this is my favorite time of the year. Of course, decorating has always been a passion of mine, along with collecting hundreds of Santas of all shapes and sizes. Of course, my Christmas village has become legendary and even surprises me sometimes. But as you know, I love it, and you may recall that my children loved it, and now I'm proud to tell you that my 5-year-old grandsons love it as well. Some new traditions and collections have come up along the way, proving that it's never too late to get new ideas. In fact, we featured my home and many decorating ideas on the show over the years, and that's why I was thrilled when one of my very good friends and a longtime guest, Colleen Christian Burke, actually wrote a book about decorating. And it's not just any book, it's one about the White House traditions called Christmas with the First Ladies, the White House Decorating Tradition from Jacqueline Kennedy to Michelle Obama. And she was inspired to write it after being part of the decorating team which designed the second Bush administration White House Christmas. She is joining us now. Colleen, it's so good to have you here.
So happy to be here.
And Merry Christmas to you and your family.
Merry Christmas.
So you're sitting at home one day, the phone rings, it's Laura Bush on the other end, and she says, hey, Kyle, help a girl out.
That's exactly how it happened.
Seriously?
No.
Okay, I was going to say, tell us how you got involved with decorating the White House.
So, like you, I've always loved Christmas decorating, and I had the idea to maybe start a little Christmas decorating business, and from that, I got this crazy idea to set decorating the White House as a goal of mine.
Wow.
And I joke that I campaigned longer than President Obama to actually get the position, because I think it might be true. I wrote hundreds of letters and I sent pictures of my decorations. I should have sent pictures of your decorations.
No.
I would have gotten sooner. And I did some sketches of what I thought would be great at the White House. And I did get a call from the chief florist, who was Nancy Clark at the time. And she said that Mrs. Bush was extending an invitation for me to be part of the 2008 decorating team.
I can't imagine how thrilled you must have been.
It was a pinch me moment for
I
sure.
bet.
Even thinking back on it, it still just makes me giddy. And I was just so excited. And I really didn't even believe that it was happening until I was actually there working. And then I was like, oh, this is so wonderful. And what I wanted to do was buy a book about the subject when I got home, and I couldn't find one. And so I set out to write one.
So your experience as being part of that decorating team actually inspired you to write a book about the First Ladies, which I have to tell you, folks, I absolutely love this book. Now, you know that I'm crazy about Christmas, but it's just so, so beautiful. The pictures are stunning, and we are going to share some of those pictures with you. Let's start at the very beginning.
Sure.
And kind of go through some of the highlights and the surprises that you found during your research. Jacqueline Kennedy, so much intrigue about her even now. What was her style like, and what did she want to bring to the White House?
Well, she was the first Lady who said, if we're going to have all these people over for the holidays, let's think about it. And she said, we need to have a theme. And this is actually the 50th anniversary of the White House Christmas theme. And her first theme was the Nutcracker. She loved everything classical and sophisticated. And her official tree was very put together and polished.
Now, she had children, as we know, Caroline and John in the White House. What was the impact of having kids in the First Family home?
Well, one thing, Caroline's kindergarten class got to tour the decorations as a class trip, which I thought was very funny. But we see it in their private moments. And her private tree, Jackie's private tree, was really kind of messy and sloppy, and the kind a mom with young kids has. And I thought that was just really sweet and a touching moment that we got to see in a picture.
So you really got to kind of see the First Lady and then the real mom, the real Jackie. Now, Lady Bird Johnson came next, and she really had a huge challenge because she had her first Christmas in the White House a month after President Kennedy had been assassinated. How did she handle that?
Right. I always knew Kennedy was assassinated at the end of November, but I never thought about it in terms of Christmas. And so for most of December, they had black funeral bunting hanging up around the house. And she made a decision, Christmas Eve, let's put up the greens. We're going to celebrate Christmas.
And in fact, we just saw another rare event at the White House. It was actually a wedding of one of her daughters.
And it was a Christmas wedding, which I love more than anything. And they had literally hundreds and hundreds of guests. And it was held in the East Room, and it was quite spectacular.
But that was several years later.
Yes.
It was really that challenge of 1963. By the time the wedding was held there, 4 years had passed, and the nation was moving forward.
Right.
Okay, talk about moving forward. Let's go to the Nixon era.
I love Mrs. Nixon. She loved garland and lots of glittery gold garland. And she actually worked with Saks Fifth Avenue to decorate the White House year after year. And she does not get the credit she deserves for starting the candlelight tours and also handicap tours of Christmas at the White House.
Now, we don't think of President Nixon as being a very warm person, even at the holidays, but yet she was embraced by the American public.
Yeah, I never knew. They loved Pat Nixon. She was really, really popular, and with good reason. She really worked hard to include every American in the White House at Christmas.
And we found out something about her, that she was actually named America's most ideal housewife during the time that she was in the White House. I thought that was great. Yeah, okay. Let's talk about Betty Ford. Here's another First Lady that has to go into the White House after a national tragedy, the scandal of Watergate and the resignation of Richard Nixon.
The cloud of Watergate. So what she said is, gone is all the gold and tinsel. It's going to feel like a visit to Grandma's house, and we're going to have a very thrifty patchwork Christmas, and we're going to decorate with fabric. And it kind of backfired on her. She ended up spending more money than the 3 First Ladies before her.
Yeah, and that's really unfortunate because her heart was really in the right place, as you found out.
And she only spent $1,600.
Now we're moving ahead now to a more homespun holiday. That would be the Carter years. Rosalind Carter, obviously being from the South, from Georgia, had a completely different style than Betty Ford would have had, or her predecessors.
Right, we get to see their personalities in their decorations, and she always had the Georgia flower ladies come and helped her, and she used a lot of greens. And one year she even used fresh apples, and there was a fruit fly invasion, and they all had to be taken down and thrown away and done over.
Oh boy, you have this great idea that you're going to use fresh items, and then you don't think about those kinds of things. For her though, her last Christmas in the White House had to be difficult because she knew that this was in fact the last one in her home.
Right, and it was very bittersweet. And also Amy Carter got to really grow up in the White House, and it was her last Christmas with Amy, and I think they really were very sad to be leaving the White House.
Okay, let's move forward. The Reagan years.
A Hollywood Christmas.
It must have been completely a 180-degree turn from the Carters.
Yes, so while the Carters were very much into natural decorating, Nancy brought in a Hollywood, White House. She definitely brought her style, and it was lots of gold, and she had celebrity Santas, and even one year Mr. T came to the White House and handed out toys for the children, so it was quite something.
We just saw the picture of her with the 3 huge trees, the sleigh. I mean, I was like, oh my gosh, this was over the top when it came to decorating.
Totally our style, right?
Yeah, actually. Can never have enough tinsel, right?
Or enough trees. And it was hard to spot Mrs. Reagan amongst all the decorations.
I know. Okay, then we have the first Bush administration. Barbara Bush's decorating claim to fame was what?
Well, she is the only First Lady who put the star atop the national tree 12 times. She did it when she was the second lady of the land and then as the First Lady.
And her style was very family-oriented because she had so many grandchildren in the White House with her.
Exactly. And also she's big on literacy, and she had storybook characters decorating the White House Christmas trees, and she loved decorating with snow.
And she also had that little, the Nutcracker ballet slippers, which later in the show, I'm going to tease you, we're going to show you how you can actually make them, because that stuff is part of Colleen's book as well. Next up, though, the Clintons, and now we're back to the homespun kind of holidays, and we're also back to having a child in the White House.
Right. And the funny thing is, I just assumed Hillary would not be interested in the Christmas decorating, but the opposite was true. She really worked very, very hard, and for Chelsea, she picked themes like a winter wonderland, where snow people were all over the White House, and sleds and ice skates, and really just very inclusive and wonderful.
See, it's funny that you say you didn't think that she would have an interest in it, and that's probably one of those misconceptions